Hello, maybe you've seen this brief animation here, which I presented in my channel, indicating that I wanted to make a tutorial about it. It's a dancing motion capture creature. I hid the original skin, the dancer, and I just render or just show the fur here in the in that viewport preview. There's a problem with it. That's why I couldn't make a tutorial about it. But I'll show you something which leads to a good result, which is slightly different. Very cryptic words. Let's go to Windows, General Editors, Content Browser, and probably you see here in the motion capture section better icons than I can see here on my other machine. I see them properly. Let's just pick dance number 1, double click. The dancer lands in the scene, and when we press the key A, we see him. He's gigantic. Select the reference node here, and with the key R, let's scale him down. You cannot scale the skin down. You need to use the reference object with all the bones inside. So press A again, and I'll scale him even further down like this. The fur thing you saw was quite easily made. I picked the not the skeleton, I picked the skin, because the skin needs to carry the fur. Now I went to xGen here. You can also go to modeling, and under generate you have the xGen editor. But let me use the icon here, so xGen. And with this selected, we click on this icon, which means let's start with a description. Let's start with some hair. We use the third option. Instead of creating a new description or importing a collection or description, we import a preset from the library. By the way, I made a tutorial and I put the link down in the description where I actually created a new description with groomable hair. Okay, let's import a preset from the library. Maya points you to the path where the plugins of xGen are in the Autodesk Maya so-and-so current version plugins xGen section here. And I chose the Calico Cat. With a double click we can import it and apply it to our creature here. We get an error message down here, failed to evaluated subdivisions, and there is a thread in the area discussion forum of Maya in the Autodesk, on the Autodesk website, which says we don't know what this is, but we get this error message as well. And now you see, I mean, as a scientist, and I studied physics a long time ago, every result which is being published needs to be reproducible. So does this look like a reproducible result? Well, no, it does not. In some cases the skeleton walks here and the fur follows, but in this case, as you can see, the skeleton just does his or its dance, whereas the rest stays just here. So this is not what we really want, and we need to get this resolved. So xGen in general is a very powerful module with lovely hair, but it has its flaws, and I think the integration into Maya is a little bit problematic. So instead of leaving you frustrated now, let's just briefly render this before we quit this scene here. Let's create just a huge floor, and with a new material, let's create an Arnold material, a surface, and here in the surface we choose a dark color like this. We create a sky dome light which wraps around the whole scene, and well, we just render him. It does look good, and we can hide the original dancer. Now we have only the fur, definitely looks interesting. And I point you to the, since we're already here, I point you to the ways to change the length of the hair, for example. You need to go to the xGen tab here. It's not the attribute editor, it's the information window specific to xGen. And here you have the length and the width. The length currently is set to 2.5. Let's reduce it to 0.3. So this is the fur length we have now, and here is the density, and it's by default it starts with 150.5, 55.5, and let's increase this to 1000. So we have this kind of fur, and we can render it like this. As I said, in some cases it does work, and the fur follows the motion of the skin and of the skeleton, but in other cases it doesn't work. There is a way to try to get it to work by exporting the skin, that is the dancer, as alembic, and re-import the clean alembic without the bones into the scene, which is a process which works just nicely, but it creates unreproducible results as well. So it doesn't really help in all cases. Okay, that having been said, let's create a new scene and follow the same path: general editor, content browser, dance number 1, and scale him down in the scene. I wonder why they come in such big dimensions here. What I want to do now is less frustrating, but still I show you a cul-de-sac, so an end of the line where you can't proceed any further. We want to paint flowers on him. We select the skin, and we need to, under modeling, you find generate here. Generate, and here are the paint effects. These are the xGen menu settings here, entries, and here the paint effects start. We need to define our skin as paintable. So that's what we just did. Now we under generate we get a brush, and we get a flower, like this flower. And now we can paint the flower on this body. And it goes like this. It's a huge flower because the brush size is pretty big. Let's decrease it by pressing and holding B for brush and moving the left and clicking the left mouse button, so we can scale it down. And now you will see what we call a cul-de-sac, which is the problem we're running in. If we want to paint the flowers on his head, works all right. I'm painting on his head, and now the flowers jump here. They're down here now, and the same here, and the same here. So we have interesting flowers here somewhere at the back of him, at the right foot, but not at the place where we want them to be. Let's delete the strokes and have a brief look at a website. This is the Maya area, the Autodesk area for Maya. And in the Maya dynamic section, I posted this question: hi there, I wanted to do a tutorial about planting grass or flowers on a Mocap dancer, and I have problems, probably because of the UV mappings. And mspeer or mspeer answers very kindly and very fast, I think within a couple of hours, several answers, and one is use automatic UV mapping. It should be enough to make it work. Okay, that's what I forgot to do, and I'm not an expert at all. I don't know anything about UV mapping really. It's I just don't like it. So I select the dancer and I go to UV and automatic. That's what he implied I should do. So now I have some kind of mapping. Under generate we get a brush. I think the PaintFX have forgotten the brush in the meantime. Flowers again, this kind of flower. And now when we paint it on that, on our creature, press and hold B, make the brush smaller. I paint on the right hand, for example, the flowers stay there. And on the left hand, they stay there. On the head, they stay there as well. And now I select some grass, generate, get brush. And here we have the grasses. And for example, this kind of grass, really huge. So if I paint with this huge size here, this is the grass I get, really big. I don't know why it doesn't show up in green. Doesn't matter really. I want to scale it down. Press B again, like this. And paint the grass here. And get some other grass, get a brush, grasses, this kind of grass. Was that the one I chose? Let's get this one. And again, I scale the brush down and he gets really grassy legs now. And the belly as well. And that arm. And the head of grass as well. So I'm basically done with the planting of flowers on this body. Now the question is, do the plants move when we run the motion capture simulation? Let's hide the geometry, H. The skeleton in the background won't be rendered anyway. And now let's run the simulation. And you see the flowers and the grass move with that character. And the skeleton is still some kind of reference here, but we can hide it, go to show and uncheck joints. So we still see a creature here, but we don't see the skeleton anymore. Let's play blast this. Windows, play blast. And when it's ready, I'll be back. It's not exactly a high resolution, but you get the point. Maya in the meantime crashed. That's why I see other kinds of flowers and grasses on that creature now. Let me finally show you a rendering. So what we learned from this whole thing is xGen is a little bit peculiar. A very strong module in Maya, but not very directly linked to other things like the motion capture data. Bye.